biggest stages. I mean, that's why he's the king. That's why he's here, and that's why we're still.
Introducing el orgulloso guerrero de Guadalajara, Saúl Canelo Alvarez.
He says tonight you're going to witness greatness. I wonder what they think now, because Terence Crawford undefeated in 39 fights.
Terence Bud Crawford, the world, Terence Bud Crawford.
The boxing world has just received its biggest storyline of the year. Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford is officially happening. This isn't just a fight, it's a legacy-defining showdown that could shake up the sport forever. One is a 4-division champion and the face of boxing, while the other is an undefeated welterweight king daring to leap up 3 weight classes for a shot at greatness. But with so much on the line, the question is, who's really taking the bigger risk? And could this become an even bigger spectacle than Canelo's legendary showdown with Floyd Mayweather? Let's break it all down. Before we dive in, do me a quick favor, like this video and subscribe. 98% of you watch without subscribing, and it helps a ton. Done? Awesome. Now, let's get into it. The stage is set for what could be the most significant boxing event of the decade. Canelo Alvarez vs Terence Crawford is officially locked in for September at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. This isn't just another mega fight, it's a showdown with historic implications. Battle between two of boxing's most decorated champions, each fighting for their place in history. Allegiant Stadium, known for hosting massive sporting events and concerts, can hold over 60,000 fans, making it the perfect setting for a spectacle of this magnitude. Las Vegas has long been the epicenter of boxing's biggest nights, and this fight echoes one of the most legendary matchups in the sport's history, Canelo's 2013 clash with Floyd Mayweather. That fight shattered records, generating an astronomical $150 million in revenue and drawing over 2 million pay-per-view buys. It cemented Mayweather's status as the sport's biggest star and was a defining moment in Canelo's early career, marking his only clear-cut loss. But now, more than a decade later, Canelo is the face of boxing, and Crawford is attempting to do what Mayweather did, defeat the Mexican superstar under the brightest lights. With two undisputed champions colliding from vastly different weight classes, the intrigue surrounding this fight is off the charts. The question is, could this event surpass Canelo vs Mayweather in terms of revenue, global attention, and historical significance? Boxing insiders believe it might. The combination of a legacy-defining fight, pound-for-pound clash, and the sheer audacity of Crawford's weight jump creates an unparalleled narrative that has captivated both hardcore fans and casual viewers alike. On the business side, the anticipation is building. The anticipation for this bout is already driving record-breaking expectations, with streaming and pay-per-view revenue stronger than ever. Industry analysts speculate that this fight could challenge the financial benchmark set by Mayweather's biggest bouts, especially considering Crawford's rising star power and Canelo's established global fan base. If the marketing push is strong, ticket sales are explosive, and the fight itself lives up to the hype, this could be the fight that redefines boxing's modern era. At first, Canelo Alvarez wanted no part of Terence Crawford. The idea of facing a much smaller fighter moving up in weight seemed unnecessary, if not outright unfair. From Canelo's perspective, he had already cemented his legacy as one of the sport's greatest, having conquered multiple weight divisions, defeated champions across eras, and established himself as the undisputed king of the super middleweight division. Crawford, on the other hand, was dominating at welterweight, but the gap between 147 and 168 pounds was immense. When asked about the possibility of the fight in early interviews, Canelo dismissed it outright, stating that the size difference made it unrealistic. But then something changed. The demand for the fight became impossible to ignore. Fans wanted it, broadcasters saw the potential, and promoters knew the money involved could be astronomical. Canelo, ever the businessman, recognized the opportunity in front of him. If there was one thing he learned from his 2013 showdown with Floyd Mayweather, it was that legacy fights don't just make history, they generate record-breaking paydays. Once discussions gained traction, the magnitude of the event became clear. This wasn't just a fight, it was a chance to create something even bigger than Canelo versus Mayweather. The financial potential alone was staggering. With the explosion of streaming platforms and global broadcasting deals, this fight had the potential to surpass the $150 million in revenue and 2 million pay-per-view buys that Mayweather vs. Canelo generated. The spectacle of two undisputed champions from vastly different weight classes colliding on boxing's biggest stage was a promoter's dream. Once Canelo saw the overwhelming interest from fans, the media, and the boxing world, he knew this was a fight he couldn't pass up. More than just money, though, Canelo saw the historical significance. If he defeats Crawford, he shuts down any debate about his dominance in the sport. He would have beaten yet another generational talent. Crawford's talent proves that size, skill, and experience are all on his side. But if he loses, the narrative shifts dramatically. Critics would question his ability to handle elite technical boxers, just as they did after his losses to Mayweather and Dmitry Bivol. His legacy, one that he has spent years crafting, would be under threat. Now, instead of dismissing the fight, Canelo is embracing it with full confidence. He's publicly stated that this bout could be even bigger than his fight with Mayweather, not just financially, but in terms of impact. He understands that beating Crawford, a fellow undisputed champion, would add a new chapter to his already legendary career. This is more than just another title defense, it's a fight that could define Canelo's legacy for years to come. Terence Crawford isn't just moving up in weight, he's making one of the boldest leaps in modern boxing history. Jumping from welterweight, 147 pounds, to super middleweight, 168 pounds, is a move that few have attempted, let alone succeeded at. Historically, even some of boxing's greatest champions struggled when climbing multiple divisions. But Crawford is convinced that his skills, speed, and adaptability will allow him to defy the odds. This isn't just a fight for another belt, it's a chance to achieve immortality in the sport. If Crawford pulls off the unthinkable and defeats Canelo Alvarez, he will enter the exclusive club of 5-division world champions, standing alongside icons like Floyd Mayweather, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Thomas Hearns. But this feat would be even more astonishing given the sheer size disparity. Unlike Mayweather, who carefully navigated his way through weight classes with strategic matchups, Crawford is taking a direct shot at the undisputed king of the super middleweight division, a fighter who has dominated at 168 pounds for years. For Crawford, this is about more than just belts or money, it's about legacy. He has already secured his place as one of the greatest welterweights of all time, but beating Canelo would elevate him to a level reserved for only the most legendary fighters. He knows what's at stake, boldly declaring, "If I win this fight, it solidifies me as an all-time great." But the question remains, will skill alone be enough to overcome the overwhelming physical challenge? The biggest unknown in this fight is whether Crawford's strengths, his sharp counterpunching, defensive mastery, and elite fight IQ, will still be as effective at a much higher weight class. His power at 147. The power Crawford demonstrated at 147 pounds was undeniable, but can he hurt Canelo, a fighter who has taken punches from some of the hardest hitters at 168 and 175 pounds? Even elite fighters like Gennady Golovkin and Sergey Kovalev, both naturally bigger and known for their knockout power, couldn't stop Canelo. Crawford has never fought at this weight, and we've seen even the most technically skilled fighters struggle when giving up size, reach, and strength. Adding to the challenge is the fact that Crawford won't just be fighting a naturally bigger man, he's facing an opponent known for exceptional durability, body punching power, and a relentless style that wears opponents down over 12 rounds. Canelo's ability to cut off the ring and impose his physicality has frustrated world-class opponents. If Crawford struggles to keep Canelo at bay, it could be a long and punishing night, but Crawford's confidence isn't just talk. He has built his career on proving doubters wrong time and time again. He has faced top-tier opponents and dismantled them with surgical precision. His destruction of Errol Spence Jr., which was supposed to be a 50-50th fight, was made to look effortless, with Crawford stopping Spence in dominant fashion. Now, the stakes are even higher, and the challenge is greater. With a fight of this magnitude, the boxing world is buzzing with predictions, analysis, and heated debates. Some believe Terence Crawford's unmatched skill set will allow him to outclass Canelo Alvarez, while others argue that the sheer size and power of Canelo will be too much to overcome. The experts are divided, and their perspectives highlight just how unpredictable this fight truly is. Dmitry Bivol, the WBA light heavyweight champion and the last man to hand Canelo a loss, knows firsthand what it takes to beat him. But despite his own success against the Mexican superstar, Bivol has serious doubts about Crawford's chances. He points to the massive weight jump, warning that Crawford may not be able to carry his power and durability up to 168 pounds. It's not just about skills, it's about strength, endurance, and how your body reacts at a higher weight, Bivol explained. He advises Crawford to take the time to properly acclimate to the new weight class before stepping into the ring with Canelo, a natural super middleweight who has competed as high as 175 pounds. Bivol's insight raises a crucial question: can Crawford, a fighter who has spent most of his career at 135 to 147 pounds, truly handle the physical demands of fighting a battle-tested champion at 168 pounds? On the other side of the debate, rising star Shakur Stevenson has no doubts. He believes Crawford will dominate Canelo with ease. Stevenson, known for his own elite boxing IQ and defensive prowess, sees a clear path to victory for Crawford. Canelo's never faced someone like Bud. Crawford is too sharp, too smart, too slick, Stevenson said. He even went as far as to predict that Crawford will make easy work of Canelo, arguing that Canelo has struggled against technical, defensive-minded fighters in the past, like Floyd Mayweather and even Dmitry Bivol. Stevenson's confidence in Crawford isn't without merit. Throughout his career, Crawford has displayed an uncanny ability to adjust mid-fight, break opponents down, and finish them in spectacular fashion. But is this fight too big of a leap, even for a generational talent like him? Former cruiserweight champion and boxing analyst Johnny Nelson is far less optimistic about Crawford's chances. While he acknowledges Crawford's greatness at welterweight, he believes Canelo's physicality will be the defining factor in this fight. Size matters, you can't just ignore it, Nelson stated. He pointed out that Canelo is a powerhouse at 168 pounds, having systematically dismantled fighters who were naturally bigger and stronger than Crawford. Nelson isn't convinced that Crawford's speed and skill alone will be enough to neutralize Canelo's relentless body attack, pressure, and knockout power. The divide among experts reflects the magnitude of this fight. On one hand, Crawford's talent, precision, and ring IQ make him a serious threat to any fighter in the world, regardless of weight. His ability to switch stances, dissect opponents, and dictate the pace of a fight is second to none. If anyone can defy the odds, it's him. But the physical reality of moving up 21 pounds from his original weight class remains a significant challenge. Canelo is not just another champion, he's a battle-tested warrior who has faced and beaten some of the biggest names in boxing. His chin has held up against knockout artists, and his power has broken down elite opponents before Canelo Alvarez can shift his full attention to Terence Crawford, there's one major obstacle standing in his way: his upcoming fight against William Skoglund on May 3 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. While most fans and analysts see this as a routine title defense, the stakes are far higher than they appear. This isn't just about another win on Canelo's record, it's about keeping the super fight with Crawford intact. One misstep, one bad night, and everything could change. On paper, Skoglund is an undefeated but relatively unknown contender. The Cuban-born, German-based fighter boasts a 22-0 record, but he hasn't faced elite-level opposition, certainly no one near Canelo's caliber. Many expect Canelo to dominate, but that's exactly what makes this fight so dangerous. Overlooking an opponent, especially one with hunger and nothing to lose, has led to shocking upsets in boxing history. Skoglund, a slick and technical boxer with a strong amateur pedigree, is stepping into the ring with the biggest opportunity of his life. He knows that if he somehow pulls off the upset, he doesn't just ruin Canelo's mega fight with Crawford, he instantly becomes a star. Fighters in his position often show up in the best shape of their lives, willing to risk everything for a chance at history. For Canelo, the pressure isn't just to win, it's to dominate. He must prove that he's still the king of the 168 pounds division and that he's not looking past Skoglund toward Crawford. A lackluster performance, even in victory, could raise questions. If he struggles, critics will argue that age, wear and tear, or even complacency is setting in. And if Skoglund exposes any weaknesses, Crawford will be watching closely. Canelo has been in this position before. He's defended his titles while having future fights lined up, and he's handled the pressure of being the face of boxing for over a decade. But this situation is unique. Crawford is already one of the most skilled fighters on the planet, and he'll be analyzing every second of Canelo's performance. A poor showing could give Crawford added confidence, reinforcing the idea that he can outbox and outmaneuver Canelo when they finally meet in September. While Canelo prepares for battle, Crawford has the luxury of sitting back and watching. He doesn't have a fight scheduled before September, meaning he can focus solely on strategy, conditioning, and bulking up for 168 pounds. But more importantly, he gets a front row seat to study Canelo in real time. He'll be looking for any signs of slowing reflexes, any defensive lapses, any struggles against movement or speed. Crawford is a master at breaking down opponents before even stepping into the ring. He meticulously studies patterns, weaknesses, and tendencies. If Canelo shows any vulnerabilities against Skoglund, whether it's a dip in stamina, difficulty cutting off the ring, or an inability to handle a sharp jab, Crawford will take note. He's a fighter who thrives on adjustments, and this fight will give him critical intel. Nobody expects Canelo to lose, but boxing has proven time and again that anything can happen. If Skoglund pulls off the unthinkable, the entire landscape of the sport could change overnight. A loss would not only derail the Crawford fight, it could cost Canelo his status as the undisputed super middleweight champion. If Canelo loses, Crawford might be forced to look elsewhere for a fight or, at the very least, renegotiate terms. Would he still be as motivated to fight a dethroned Canelo? Would the money and stakes be the same? And would Canelo even want to move forward with the fight if his legacy takes a major hit? The good news for boxing fans is that Canelo has proven time and again that he thrives under pressure. He's been here before, and he knows how to handle these high-stakes moments. But in boxing, nothing is guaranteed. Before we can even think about Canelo versus Crawford, May 3rd is the first battle that needs to be won. Will it be business as usual for Canelo, or will William Skoglund turn the boxing world upside down? Every major fight comes with its fair share of risks, but when two generational talents like Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford collide, the stakes go beyond just titles and paychecks. The question everyone is asking is, who's really putting more on the line? For Canelo Alvarez, this fight is another chapter in an already legendary career, but one that could define how history remembers him. He's the undisputed king at 168 pounds, the face of boxing for over a decade, and the sport's biggest global star. Yet despite all his accomplishments, this fight is a no-win situation in the eyes of many. If Canelo beats Crawford, critics will claim he did exactly what was expected, overpowering a naturally smaller fighter who had no business moving up 21 pounds from his original weight class. A win won't necessarily enhance his legacy, it will merely maintain it. But if he loses, that's where things get dangerous. A defeat to Crawford would be catastrophic. It would instantly raise questions about whether Canelo is starting to decline, whether he struggled against smaller, more technical fighters, and whether his aura of invincibility at super middleweight was an illusion. The loss wouldn't just be about one fight, it would give ammunition to his detractors to pick apart his resume. Could he still be considered the greatest Mexican fighter of all time if he lost to a much smaller opponent? Could he still be seen as boxing's biggest star? On the other side, Terence Crawford's entire gamble is built on belief. Belief that skill, speed, and precision can conquer raw size and power. Moving up from welterweight, 147 pounds, to super middleweight, 168 pounds, is one of the most ambitious jumps in modern boxing history. If he wins, he doesn't just cement himself as an all-time great, he enters a level of greatness that few fighters have ever achieved. But what if he loses? Does it really matter? Many would argue that Crawford is in a win-win situation. If he loses, he can always fall back on the argument that he dared to be great, that he took on an impossible challenge and simply wasn't a natural super middleweight. His legacy as a dominant welterweight champion wouldn't take a massive hit because, in reality, he never had to take this fight in the first place. However, there's a flip side. If Crawford not only loses but gets dominated, if Canelo walks through his punches and bullies him around the ring, it could shift the conversation about his career. Doubters would claim he was only dominant because he stayed in weight classes where he had a physical advantage. Some might even question whether his undefeated record was inflated by the lack of truly elite opponents in their prime. Could losing to Canelo make people rethink how great he really was? The boxing world is split. Some believe this is an unfair fight, a mismatch that Canelo will dominate purely based on size and power. Others think it's the ultimate test of skill versus strength, and that Crawford is stepping up to prove he is the most technically gifted fighter of this generation. Legendary matchups like this don't come often, and when they do, they have the power to redefine the sport. Think Sugar Ray Leonard moving up to face Marvin Hagler. Think Manny Pacquiao jumping through weight divisions and proving size isn't everything. Could Crawford be next in line to shock the world? Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford isn't just another blockbuster fight. It's a battle that could alter boxing history. It's the best versus the best, a fight that will either cement Canelo's dominance or elevate Crawford to an entirely new stratosphere. If Canelo wins, he reinforces his status as the king of boxing. But if Crawford pulls off the upset, it might go down as the greatest victory in modern boxing history. So, who do you have? Is this Canelo's fight to lose, or will Crawford silence the doubters and prove that skill trumps size? Drop your predictions in the comments. Who's coming out on top? If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like this video to support the channel, subscribe to Boxing is Here for the latest updates, fight breakdowns, and expert analysis, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload.